Have you ever thought about what it truly feels like to grow old and live alone? Imagine waking up each day to an empty house where the silence is deafening and there's no one around to share your thoughts with. When my grandfather retired, he thought he'd finally enjoy life's peaceful moments. But after my grandmother passed, he found himself in a house that was too quiet, too still. He didn't talk much about it, but you could see it in his eyes, the weight of loneliness. If you've ever wondered what that kind of solitude feels like, stay with me. Because in today's video, we're going to dive deep into the unseen and often untold realities of living alone in old age. Now let's explore the harsh truths no one talks about. 1. The silent struggle. One of the first things you might notice when visiting an older person living alone is the silence. It's not just a physical absence of sound, it's an emotional quietness, a kind of silence that wraps itself around the person and their home. This quiet can become overwhelming, especially when someone who has spent years surrounded by family or a partner suddenly finds themselves alone. Society doesn't often talk about the subtle but profound shift that happens when daily companionship is no longer present. In our youth, we cherish moments of solitude. Time away from the chaos of life can feel like a luxury. But in older age, when those moments of peace stretch into weeks or months of isolation, solitude can become suffocating. How many of us truly understand the magnitude of that change? The worst part? People often don't realize they're entering this stage until they're already deep in it. Friends pass away, family members grow busy with their own lives, and slowly the world feels like it's moving on without you. That's the harsh reality no one talks about. How easy it is for an older person living alone to be forgotten, not just by others, but by the pace of life itself. 2. Loneliness and isolation. When we talk about loneliness, we often imagine short-term feelings of being alone. But for older individuals living by themselves, loneliness can be chronic and constant. According to a study by the National Institute on Aging, more than 1/3 of adults aged 45 and older feel lonely, with this figure even higher among those who live alone. The impact of this kind of loneliness is profound. Social isolation has been shown to have the same impact on mortality as smoking 15 cigarettes a day. It's not just a mental struggle. Loneliness can lead to a decline in physical health, increasing the risk of conditions such as heart disease, cognitive decline, and high blood pressure. The human brain, after all, is wired for social interaction. When deprived of meaningful connections, it begins to deteriorate in both subtle and significant ways. What's particularly cruel about this is that as people age, the opportunities for social connection naturally diminish. Friends and loved ones pass away, while physical limitations might prevent someone from going out and seeking new relationships. Even when technology like social media or video calls could bridge the gap, many older individuals lack the digital literacy to use them, leading to a growing divide between generations. Imagine sitting in your home, knowing your grandchildren are just a phone call or a text away, but being unable to make that connection because you don't know how to use the devices that keep the younger world connected. It's a reality many older adults face daily. 3. The silent house. The physical environment of an older person living alone can also have a deep psychological effect. Have you ever walked into a house that felt too quiet? There's no conversation, no laughter, no background noise. Maybe there's a television humming in the corner, filling the void, but it doesn't quite drown out the feeling of emptiness. For someone living alone, this silent house becomes a constant reminder of what's missing. Every creak of the floorboards, every tick of the clock amplifies the solitude. The quiet might be interrupted by the sounds of the outside world, cars driving by, children playing in the distance. But those noises only serve to remind the person of the life happening outside their walls, a life they're no longer a part of. This physical silence can become a breeding ground for negative thoughts. Without anyone to share the day-to-day with, an older person might begin to dwell on past mistakes, regrets, or unfulfilled dreams. There's no one to distract them from their inner thoughts, no partner to chat with over breakfast, or friend to share an afternoon walk. Over time, these small moments of silence can accumulate into an overwhelming sense of isolation. 4. Grief and loss. For many older individuals living alone, grief is a constant companion. Whether it's the loss of a spouse, close friends, or siblings, the older we get, the more we experience the pain of losing those we love. And while grief is something all of us experience at some point, it's particularly harsh when you're facing it alone. The loss of a life partner, especially, is devastating. After decades of sharing a home, routines, and memories, waking up to find that person gone leaves a void that nothing seems to fill. For those who spent years caring for a sick spouse, the transition from caregiver to being alone can be jarring. In many cases, the caregiver's entire life revolved around the needs of their partner, and once that person is gone, they're left without a sense of purpose. Grief can feel like a weight that is always present, especially when there's no one else around to share in it or help carry the burden. It's not just about emotional loss either. The practicalities of life change dramatically. Often, one partner took care of certain aspects of daily life. Maybe the husband handled the finances while the wife managed the household. After a spouse passes, the surviving partner has to learn how to navigate tasks they've never handled before. This steep learning curve, coupled with the emotional toll of grief, can lead to overwhelming feelings of helplessness. And grief doesn't just stop with the loss of a spouse. As we age, we begin to lose our social circle too. Friends we've known for decades pass away, and it becomes harder to meet new people. Social gatherings become fewer, and the conversations with familiar faces slowly fade. Each loss chips away at our sense of community, leaving behind a growing sense of loneliness. In the next part of the script, we will explore the physical challenges that come with aging alone, from declining health to the dangers of living without immediate assistance. Let's dive deeper into these realities that often go unnoticed. 5. Mental health concerns. While much of the conversation around aging focuses on physical decline, the mental health struggles of older adults living alone are equally pressing. Depression, anxiety, and even cognitive decline are common among those who face the harsh reality of isolation. In fact, research shows that older adults who live alone are at a higher risk of experiencing depressive symptoms than those who live with others. Why is this the case? Living alone strips away the casual, everyday interactions that help keep our minds engaged. It's those small moments of connection, a passing conversation, a shared laugh, that give structure and purpose to our days. Without them, it's easy for negative emotions to settle in. For many, the loss of a partner or close friend triggers a cycle of grief that can evolve into depression if left unchecked. And yet, mental health among older adults often goes unnoticed or untreated, partly because they're more likely to minimize or hide their symptoms. There's a stigma attached to admitting that they feel lonely or depressed, especially in generations that were taught to value resilience and self-reliance. Another issue is the difficulty in accessing mental health services. For older individuals, especially those on fixed incomes, therapy or counseling may seem like a luxury they can't afford. And even when they can afford it, they might not have the physical means to get to appointments, or they may live in areas where mental health services for the elderly are scarce. It's a vicious cycle. Isolation exacerbates mental health issues, and mental health issues deepen the sense of isolation. For some, cognitive decline can also set in more rapidly when living alone. Without regular mental stimulation or interaction, conditions like dementia and Alzheimer's disease may worsen. Engaging in conversations and social activities is a crucial part of maintaining mental sharpness, and when those opportunities vanish, so too can the mental clarity that older adults fight to preserve. 6. Declining health. Physical health is a major concern for older individuals living alone. As the body ages, simple tasks like climbing stairs, carrying groceries, or even standing for extended periods can become more difficult. When there's no one around to offer assistance, these challenges can become overwhelming. A common issue is the neglect of one's health. When living alone, there's less motivation to cook balanced meals or stay active. For some, the effort of preparing food for one feels too great, leading to reliance on convenience foods or skipping meals altogether. This lack of proper nutrition can accelerate physical decline. Additionally, some older adults, particularly those who are housebound, may find it challenging to get to medical appointments, resulting in neglected health conditions or untreated illnesses. Chronic conditions like arthritis, heart disease, and diabetes require regular management, and doing so alone can be both physically and emotionally exhausting. Without someone to remind them to take medication or help them stay on top of their medical routines, many older people struggle with compliance, which can have serious consequences for their long-term health. Even staying physically active becomes harder when there's no one to encourage it. Physical activity is crucial for maintaining strength, balance, and cardiovascular health in older age, yet many people lose their drive to exercise when they have no one to do it with. The daily walks or light stretches that once kept them agile can become rare or non-existent, leading to a further decline in health and mobility. 7. Reduced mobility. Mobility is a lifeline for independence, but as we age, it becomes harder to maintain that mobility, and living alone can make this decline even more apparent. Simple tasks that were once taken for granted, like going to the grocery store, visiting friends, or even taking a walk around the neighborhood, become daunting challenges for many older individuals. For those without access to reliable transportation, the problem becomes even more serious. Many older adults who live alone no longer drive, either because of poor vision, slower reaction times, or simply a lack of confidence behind the wheel. In rural or suburban areas where public transportation is limited or non-existent, this loss of mobility can feel like being trapped in your own home. Without the ability to leave the house, many older individuals become isolated, not only socially, but also from essential services. Trips to the pharmacy, doctor's appointments, or even just running errands become major events that require outside help that isn't always readily available. Some may rely on family members, neighbors, or community services, but when those resources fall short, the isolation deepens. Mobility isn't just about transportation, it's about maintaining the freedom to live independently. When physical limitations set in, even daily tasks like bathing, dressing, or cleaning the house can become difficult. Many older individuals living alone fear the day when they might lose their independence entirely, needing to rely on in-home care or being forced into assisted living. The thought of losing control over their own lives looms large and contributes to feelings of vulnerability and despair. 8. Dangerous falls and accidents. One of the most alarming realities for older adults living alone is the risk of falls and accidents. Falls are one of the leading causes of injury and death among seniors, and when you live alone, the consequences of a fall can be even more dire. Imagine falling in your home and having no one to help you. Hours, maybe days, could pass before help arrives. Many older individuals have mobility issues, balance problems, or are on medications that make them more prone to falling. The fear of taking a bad fall can cause them to limit their activities, becoming more sedentary, which ironically increases the risk of future falls. A fractured hip or a serious head injury from a fall could mean the difference between continuing to live independently and being moved into a care facility. In homes where there are no safety modifications, such as grab bars, proper lighting or clear pathways, these accidents become even more likely. Yet, many older adults don't have the resources to make these kinds of adjustments to their homes. Some don't even recognize the danger until it's too late. Being proactive about safety is critical, but when you're living alone, it's easy to overlook potential hazards. There's no one there to point out that the carpet in the hallway is a tripping hazard or that the bathroom could use some additional handrails. The fear of injury hangs over everyday life, adding another layer of anxiety to the already challenging experience of aging alone. 9. Medical emergencies. Perhaps one of the greatest fears for older adults living alone is having a medical emergency with no one there to help. Whether it's a heart attack, stroke, or sudden illness, the idea of needing immediate care but not being able to reach out for help is terrifying. Even in the age of cell phones and emergency alert systems, many older individuals still don't have access to the technology that could save their lives in a crisis. Maybe they forget to wear their medical alert bracelet, or their phone is out of reach when they need it most. In the event of an emergency, every minute counts, and living alone means those minutes could stretch into hours before someone realizes there's a problem. What makes this issue particularly concerning is that many older adults downplay their health issues. They don't want to bother anyone or be seen as a burden, so they hesitate to call for help even when they need it. This reluctance to ask for assistance can turn a minor health issue into a major crisis. And it's not just physical health emergencies that pose a threat. Mental health crises, such as severe anxiety attacks or episodes of confusion, can also occur, leaving an older person feeling isolated and helpless. For those living alone, there's often no one there to notice the early warning signs of a problem or intervene before it becomes a full-blown emergency. 10. Living on a fixed income. One of the most under-discussed challenges for older adults living alone is managing on a fixed income. After retirement, most seniors rely on pensions, social security, or savings to cover their living expenses. But as costs continue to rise, whether for housing, utilities, or medical care, their income remains stagnant, leaving many in a precarious financial situation. Living alone often means shouldering all of the household expenses, which can be overwhelming for someone with limited funds. Rent or mortgage payments, property taxes, utility bills, groceries, these basic costs add up quickly, and without the help of a second income, it can be difficult to make ends meet. Some seniors even have to choose between paying for essentials like food or medication, a choice no one should have to make. What's worse, older adults are particularly vulnerable to financial scams or bad investments, which can quickly drain their savings. many seniors don't have the same financial literacy as younger generations, particularly when it comes to navigating the digital world. For those who live alone, there's often no one to consult or get a second opinion from, making them easy targets for fraud. Inflation also plays a significant role. While the cost of living continues to climb, retirement benefits or social security payments often fail to keep pace. As a result, many older adults find themselves stretched thin, cutting back on non-essential items or relying on assistance programs to get by. Unfortunately, even with these programs, the financial burden can feel crushing, especially when unexpected expenses arise, like home repairs or medical bills. 11. Rising healthcare costs. Healthcare costs are one of the most significant financial burdens for older adults, especially for those living alone. As we age, medical needs increase, often requiring more frequent doctor visits, specialized treatments, and prescription medications. But while the demand for care goes up, so do the costs, creating a major challenge for seniors who are trying to manage on limited resources. Medicare helps cover some of these expenses, but it doesn't cover everything. Many older adults need supplemental insurance to pay for things like dental care, vision, or prescription drug costs, which can be expensive. For those who don't have the means to afford additional insurance, the out-of-pocket costs can quickly become overwhelming. Living alone means there's no one else to share these costs or help navigate the complexities of healthcare billing, insurance claims, or medication management. It's easy for seniors to become overwhelmed by medical paperwork or to miss important deadlines, which can result in denied claims or late fees. This financial stress only compounds the physical and emotional toll of dealing with chronic illness or health issues. And then there's the issue of long-term care. As seniors age, many require in-home care or assisted living services, which are not fully covered by Medicare. The cost of hiring a caregiver or moving into a nursing facility can be astronomical, often draining savings or forcing people to sell their homes just to afford basic care. For many older adults, the fear of being unable to afford adequate healthcare adds another layer of anxiety to their already challenging circumstances. 12. Home maintenance. Living alone also means being solely responsible for the upkeep and maintenance of the home, which can be both physically and financially taxing. As we age, tasks like cleaning the gutters, mowing the lawn, or even changing a light bulb can become difficult, if not impossible. Without help, many seniors find that their homes start to fall into disrepair, which can lead to dangerous living conditions. For those on a limited budget, hiring someone to help with home maintenance is often out of the question. And even when they can afford it, finding a trustworthy, reliable service can be challenging. Many seniors fall victim to unscrupulous contractors who overcharge or do subpar work, leaving them in a worse situation than before. A well-maintained home is essential for safety, but it's not just about fixing leaky roofs or repairing appliances. Routine maintenance also helps prevent bigger problems down the road, problems that could become emergencies if left unchecked. For example, a small leak in the plumbing could turn into a major flood if it's not repaired, or a loose handrail could lead to a dangerous fall. Unfortunately, when you're living alone, it's easy for these minor issues to go unnoticed until they become serious problems. Moreover, many seniors live in homes that are not designed for aging in place. Stairs, narrow doorways, and slippery bathtubs can all pose hazards, but making the necessary modifications to improve safety can be prohibitively expensive. Whether it's installing a ramp, widening doorways for wheelchair access, or adding grab bars in the bathroom, these changes cost money, money that many older adults simply don't have. 13. Retirement savings. Shortfall. Retirement is supposed to be a time when we can relax and enjoy the fruits of a lifetime of labor. But for many older adults living alone, the reality is far from that idyllic picture. One of the harshest realities is that many people enter retirement without sufficient savings to sustain them for the remainder of their lives. The expectation for many is that they'll live comfortably on their retirement savings, but life often throws curveballs. Unexpected medical bills, home repairs, or the cost of long-term care can quickly erode those savings. Many people underestimate how long they'll live, or how much they'll need to cover rising costs over the years. And if they're living alone, they have no partner or additional income to rely on when things get tight. The financial insecurity caused by a shortfall in retirement savings forces many seniors to make difficult decisions. Some return to the workforce in part-time jobs just to make ends meet, but ageism in the job market can make it hard to find employment. Others downsize their homes or move into shared living arrangements, but this can feel like a loss of independence, especially for those who have been used to living alone. The anxiety over money doesn't just affect their day-to-day lives, it weighs heavily on their mental health. The constant worry about how to pay the bills, whether they'll have enough for future medical care, or if their savings will run out, can create a pervasive sense of unease. This financial stress can even spill over into physical health, contributing to issues like high blood pressure, heart problems, or poor sleep. 14. Dwindling social circles. As people age, their social circles tend to shrink, often leading to feelings of isolation and loneliness. Friends and family members may move away, pass on, or become too busy with their own lives to maintain regular contact. For those living alone, the loss of these social connections can be devastating. Maintaining friendships in older age can be difficult for a variety of reasons. Health issues may limit a person's ability to get out and socialize, while others may simply find it harder to meet new people as they grow older. Additionally, older adults are more likely to live in areas where their peer group is also aging and dealing with similar issues, making it harder for them to stay socially active. Loneliness is not just a feeling, it has real, measurable effects on a person's health. Research has shown that social isolation can lead to higher rates of mortality, cognitive decline, and physical health issues like heart disease and weakened immune systems. For seniors, losing a spouse or close friends can create a sense of deep loneliness that is difficult to shake, especially when they lack the support network that younger people often have. Living alone exacerbates this problem. Without someone to talk to daily or share experiences with, older adults can feel disconnected from the world around them. Even when they do have opportunities to interact with others, whether at a community event, through church, or with neighbors, the fleeting nature of these interactions often isn't enough to fill the emotional void left by the absence of close, meaningful relationships. 15. The digital divide. The rise of technology in recent decades has created new ways for people to stay connected, but many older adults are left behind due to the digital divide. This gap in technological access and literacy disproportionately affects older individuals, especially those living alone. In today's world, much of our communication happens online. Social media, video calls, and messaging apps are essential tools for staying in touch with friends and family. But for seniors who never learn to use these technologies, they can feel alienating. Many older adults either don't have the devices they need, like smartphones or computers, or they don't know how to use them effectively. This can create a sense of being left out of the digital world, further isolating them from loved ones. The digital divide also affects access to essential services, from scheduling doctor's appointments online to ordering groceries or managing finances. So much of modern life requires internet access and technological proficiency. For older individuals who aren't comfortable using the internet, this can lead to increased dependency on others or missing out on important services altogether. Efforts to bridge this divide, such as teaching seniors how to use technology or providing them with affordable internet access, are growing, but they're not yet widespread enough to make a significant impact for most. This lack of digital access can leave older adults feeling disconnected, not only from their families and communities, but from the world at large. 16. Being overlooked by society. One of the harshest realities for older adults living alone is the feeling of being overlooked or forgotten by society. In a world that often prioritizes the young, the elderly, particularly those without family or a close social network, can feel invisible. Public policies, community planning, and even social attitudes tend to overlook the specific needs of older adults who live alone. Many communities lack adequate resources for seniors, such as accessible public transportation, affordable healthcare, or social services. Elderly individuals may struggle to access food assistance programs or other forms of help due to complicated bureaucratic processes, or simply because they don't know where to turn for help. Society's focus on youth and productivity often leaves the elderly feeling like they no longer have a place in the world, particularly when they're no longer part of the workforce. Moreover, the media's portrayal of aging rarely focuses on the real challenges that older adults face, particularly those living alone. Instead, we often see idealized images of healthy, active seniors enjoying retirement, an image that doesn't reflect the reality for many people who are struggling with physical decline, financial strain, and loneliness. This lack of representation can contribute to the sense that their struggles are not seen or acknowledged by the broader society. This invisibility can also extend to family dynamics. Adult children with busy lives may not fully understand the struggles their aging parents face, particularly if they don't live nearby. While many people intend to care for their elderly relatives, the demands of modern life, work, raising children, maintaining a household, can make it difficult to provide the level of support that older adults living alone truly need. The result is that many seniors feel forgotten, left to navigate the difficulties of aging on their own. 17. Community resources and their limits. While there are community resources designed to help older adults, they are often limited in availability or accessibility. For example, senior centers or social services may be too far away for someone with limited mobility, or they may operate on a schedule that doesn't work for all individuals. Moreover, many older adults aren't even aware of the services available to them, and without someone to help them navigate these systems, they may miss out on critical assistance. In some places, programs like Meals on Wheels or senior transportation services can provide a lifeline for older adults living alone, but these programs often have long waiting lists or can only provide limited services. Budget cuts and limited funding for senior services can mean that help is available only to a select few, leaving others to fend for themselves. Another issue is the accessibility of healthcare. In rural areas, older adults might have to travel long distances to see a doctor or specialist, and public transportation may not be available. Even in urban areas, seniors often face long wait times for appointments or difficulty navigating crowded, complex healthcare systems. Volunteering organizations can help, but they rely on the availability of volunteers, many of whom are also aging. The network of care for seniors, while present in some communities, is often fragile and stretched thin. For many older individuals living alone, the promise of community support is far from a guarantee. 18. Finding new purpose. One of the greatest challenges for older adults living alone is finding a new sense of purpose after the loss of a partner, retirement from work, or the departure of grown children. When the familiar routines of life change or disappear, it can leave a void that's difficult to fill. Yet, finding purpose is critical to maintaining mental and emotional health, especially in later life. Many older adults struggle with a sense of what now once they find themselves living alone. The roles they played, whether as a spouse, parent or worker, are no longer as prominent, and for some, the feeling of being needed fades. Without these identities to anchor them, many seniors struggle with depression or a sense of meaninglessness. However, there are ways that older individuals can find purpose, even when living alone. For some, this comes through volunteering or mentoring younger generations. For others, it's about engaging in hobbies or activities they never had time for before. Whether it's writing, painting, gardening, or pursuing lifelong passions, these activities can offer a new sense of fulfillment. Building a new routine that gives structure to each day can also help. Whether it's a daily walk, a phone call with a friend, or attending a weekly class, having something to look forward to can provide emotional stability. Purpose doesn't have to be grand. It can be found in small, everyday acts of self-care, connection, or creativity. 19. Adapting to new realities. Aging alone requires a certain level of emotional resilience and adaptability. For many, this means coming to terms with the fact that life is different now, and that's okay. The shift from a bustling, active life to one of solitude can be difficult, but it also opens the door to new experiences and ways of living. Some older adults embrace their solitude and find comfort in the freedom it provides. They no longer have to cater to the needs of others and can live life on their own terms. This can be an empowering realization for many, allowing them to explore new interests, set their own schedules, and focus on their own well-being. Learning how to navigate the challenges of living alone, whether it's managing finances, staying on top of health issues, or finding ways to stay connected, can be daunting, but many older adults rise to the occasion. They develop new skills, such as learning how to use technology to stay in touch with loved ones, or they adapt their living environments to better suit their needs. Ultimately, adapting to new realities is about finding balance. It's about acknowledging the difficulties of living alone, while also seeking out the opportunities that solitude can offer. For those who are able to make this shift, the experience of aging alone can become less about what's been lost and more about what can still be gained. 20. Cultivating hope. While the challenges of living alone in older age are undeniable, it's also important to remember that hope can be cultivated, even in the most difficult of circumstances. Small daily practices can make a huge difference in the emotional and mental well-being of older adults. Whether it's starting each day with a gratitude practice, engaging in creative activities, or maintaining a routine, these small acts can help stave off feelings of loneliness and despair. For many, hope comes from staying connected with others, even in small ways. Whether it's a phone call from a friend, a visit from a neighbor, or attending a community event, These interactions can provide a lifeline. The key is to maintain social connections, no matter how small they may seem, because it's these connections that remind older adults that they are not alone. Another source of hope comes from embracing the mindset of lifelong learning. Many older adults find joy in discovering new hobbies, whether it's learning a language, trying a new art form, or even delving into topics that fascinated them earlier in life, but they never had time to explore. These moments of intellectual engagement can bring a sense of vitality and excitement, reminding them that age is not a barrier to growth. Finally, finding peace in solitude itself can be an act of hope. For some, it's about finding spiritual fulfillment through meditation, prayer, or simply spending time in nature. For others, it's about reflecting on the journey of their life and taking pride in the path they've walked. Cultivating hope isn't about ignoring the difficulties of aging alone, but about finding beauty and purpose in the life that remains.